What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of La Liga Insiders. Gemma Soler, Rodrigo Fais, and Christina Alexander with you. A lot to break down after this weekend and looking ahead what it means, especially for Real Madrid, Barcelona with the good pass. Let's take a look now at our menu of the day so you can stick around with us. Real Madrid owns the derby. They took over that result. Barcelona doesn't miss a beat, quite literally. A little Robert Lewandowski action there for you. And what's new with our insiders? We'll break it down for you. And of course, we can't leave behind a little bit of extra time, maybe a controversial topic. I don't know. We'll get to it. You'll just have to stick around. But let's start off with what we already mentioned at the top. Real Madrid staying on top of things as number one is still with 18 points. Barcelona too, like we said, not missing a beat with those 16 points. Check out Real Betis there too. 3 points away from the leader Madrid, and things are getting very exciting. I love how different this table is looking too. I mean, apart from the number one and number two, right? It's looking a little different. Atletico de Madrid staying there in 7th place after dropping points against Real Madrid. So let's jump right into it. Rodrigo, I'll start with you. What did you think about Real Madrid's performance? Did you like it? Was the result a fair judgment of what you saw in those 90 minutes?
Yeah, for me it was a fair result for Real Madrid. I think they were better. They waited Atletico de Madrid, and for Atletico de Madrid, I think it was the kind of situation that we always struggle with. Imagine that you are back in high school and you're trying to date a girl, and you try to be a bit handsome, a little bit more fit, but then you have someone who's trying to date that girl too, and he's more handsome than you, he's stronger, he's taller. That's Real Madrid, because you try your best, but it's never enough to win Real Madrid. So that's why, for me, that's the views on the game, on the derby. I think Atletico de Madrid tried their best, and even they got Griezmann at the starting 11 after so many games, but it wasn't enough because in two plays, Real Madrid scored twice. So that's why the derby was conditioned by those first goals by Real Madrid, that they did a great job, and finally at the end they danced a little bit better.
Everybody wanted to dance with Real Madrid, and even the fact that they didn't have Karim Benzema too, but Ancelotti is very confident that they still have a great team without him. Gemma, did they prove that this weekend?
Yes, I did. It was such a convincing win at a stadium so complicated as the Metropolitano is. And I think Real Madrid is like a machine that works from memory. It's something like the summer didn't exist, and they are starting the season the same rhythm as they ended last season. And this is quite impressive, even for the thing you mentioned, Christina, is that they don't have Benzema, because we thought that could be the situation that could make Real Madrid things very difficult. If they're lost, their leader in the forward line, their killer there in the player who has the most quality in the final third. They did. He's injured, and when this is happening, there is someone else who steps out and does well. In this case was Rodrigo. Vinícius is really fit as well, and I think when we talk about Valverde, we're talking about one of the players who is probably at their best in Europe. So they did a very pragmatical game. They closed the game in 30 minutes. They were very effective, very vertical, and very intelligent. And at the end of the game, they played Atletico Madrid when they are in superiority in the results. They decided not to play that last minute. It's something like Atletico tried their own medicine.
Yeah. Absolutely, and here's Real Madrid too, maybe not leaving things to the last 10 minutes to get that result as well, something that we saw in midweek with that Champions League match, and they decided to have maybe a different kind of face. A lot of players too coming out of their shells, as we could call it. Of course, not only Vinícius Jr, but Valverde as well. How refreshing is it for Carlo Ancelotti, Rodri, to not depend on such a big talent like Karim Benzema is?
Valverde makes everything great. I mean, he's the kind of guy that Ancelotti trusts in a lot. Even last season, I remember Ancelotti in so many press conferences saying that he wanted to give more minutes to Valverde, that at that time he was injured, and he said, the Italian coach said that this season he was going to give him a lot more minutes because he deserved those minutes. And now he's proven that he's more than fit for Real Madrid level. And the good thing of all is that not only the expectations that we all have in Valverde are made, but also he's proven that he can score and he can play apart from a great midfield. He could be a scorer in some point or in some difficult game, as we saw in the Champions League game against RB Leipzig, because he scored, he broke the wall of the German side, and now he's mentioned to be one of the greatest midfielders of this season, because everyone at the beginning of the window of the summer window transfer, we were all talking about Camavinga, about Tchouaméni, talking about Modric's retirement, or when will be the time for Toni Kroos to leave Real Madrid. But he was like, okay, I'm in the second file and I'm gonna go, into the spot. And now he's playing so well. He's a friendly guy, because I am said by his teammates that he's one of the best guys in the locker room, because he's really nice to all the colleagues, and that's why we are all grateful for him to be at that level, because he plays so good that no one maybe even expected him to be at the level at the beginning of this season.
Love hearing that about what you're telling us about Valverde. Of course, like you said, well now we really want him to succeed, right? Not because we wish well for everybody, but knowing that he's so nice to every single person, of course, it's even better to see that success from him. Now, speaking of staying on a real level, a little pun there with Real Madrid, Jan Oblak knew that Madrid was just better. This is what he said. We leave with the feeling that we could have done something more, but no matter what, whether you deserve it or not, the result speaks for itself and you have to accept it. Gemma, what do you think?
Yes, and it's quite humble and good for sport to recognize that probably your bitter rivals were better in a game. It was like this. It's hard, it's sad for Atletico fan base to see that at your own stadium, but Real Madrid were better yesterday in that game, so they deserve the 3 points, even though Atletico tried at the very end of the game. It's starting to feel that this Atletico Madrid model is starting to be burned out. We were talking about this a lot last season, but I think it was different. It was a team who were defending champions. They didn't have that much reinforcement. Griezmann coming back was a kind of difficult. Now it's another thing. It's another season. They don't have that pressure to come from a huge success like winning La Liga, and they don't seem to react. So I think that it's starting to see that this Cholo Simeone model is start to be burned out, and also there is another problem that the coach, he has always been like a god. There is like a religion in Atletico surrounding the coach, el cholismo that they call, and he has so much power. Actually, he's the coach who is the best paid in Europe. Now he's not having that much good relationship with the board of members. There are like some points that with a little bit of tension, and I don't know if that is also affecting his the way that he's running the team. We will see in the next games, but they need to react, because the distance, we've seen it in the standings now, it's quite a big difference, and now these 2 weeks without La Liga, I think it's going to be very long for them, thinking about that they really need to react, or it's going to be very difficult for them to try to win La Liga. It has to be their goal, of course.
Right, and checking that table, and right with what you were saying, it's true. They're 8 points behind. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, relax. We don't have to sound the alarm just yet. The season just started. Yeah, it just started, and you're already 8 points behind the first place and your bitter rivals, Real Madrid. Tough situation for them. Tough situation for Cholo Simeone as well. All right, let's turn the page now, because Barcelona also had an interesting match I don't want to say it was easy, but it became an easy situation because of that really early red card with Elche. And it was kind of one of those games where you were like, well, here comes, not a relaxed win, maybe. I think that it's a better choice of words. A relaxed win for Barcelona. I think these stats kind of reflect it with that 77% possession versus 23 for Elche. But at the end of the day, Barcelona, we've seen situations, Rodri, where we see teams that face their rivals with 10 men early on and still don't take advantage of the fact. How did you see Barcelona's performance now this weekend?
Yeah, I agree that when Gonzalo Verdu was sent off at the beginning of the game, for me the match was over because Barcelona, if you compare the squad, the millions that they invest to Elche, I mean they are completely, they are sides from completely different worlds. Apart from that, I saw Barcelona enjoying the game, which is something that for me is a detail very important for Barca because of what they struggled last season, and seeing them on the pitch doesn't really matter if they're playing against Bayern Munich or Elche or they're playing against Rayo Vallecano. They were smiling, they were laughing, in a respectful way indeed to Elche, but they were enjoying a lot, which is Barca's DNA. They were enjoying the way they were playing, and this is something important for Barca and even for Xavi, because I think Xavi, after Bayern Munich defeat, he was thinking about the situation a lot, and they needed a victory like that, a very calm victory, a very pleasant game for Barca, and they needed Lewandowski to be back at the scorer top list, which is the main leader, and as I told you before in the previous weeks, for me he's going to be the top scorer in La Liga by the end of the season. And I think that Barca, in a collective way and in the individual way, they needed this game because they were enjoying a lot, they were playing really well, and Elche made their best, but it wasn't enough because they were facing one of the main favorites, not only in La Liga but for Champions League this year.
Wow, 3 words that I'm sure Gemma and a lot of people would not associate with Barcelona in the last few years. Calm, pleasant, enjoyment. Those 3 words that Rodri just said to describe this Barcelona team, especially after what he just mentioned, that tough result at midweek. Another word to associate with this team is what Xavi said as well, with that word, remarkable. The analysis is very positive. Besides the results in Munich and the Rayo Vallecano games, it's a remarkable start. Gemma, do you agree?
Yes, well, not only myself. Numbers say that they've managed to get these 16 points out of possible 18, and this means that is their best record at this stage of the season since the season 2017 and 18, when Ernesto Valverde was the coach. And Xavi, if he managed to get 2 more wins, he will equal the best streak he has as a Barcelona coach, that one that ran from February to April last season, including that amazing 4-0 win at the Bernabeu. So yeah, the numbers say that it's a great start. Of course, that defeat at Allianz Arena once again in a stadium that they have so many goals there, it was really tough. So it was very, for the players, for the fans, for all Barcelona, it was very reconforting to be back to the Camp Nou and to have that win. I think, Cristina, we can say it was an easy win because you are playing against bottom team Elche, and they got 1 man down at minute 13. So of course this makes things much easier, and they had fun. The players had fun, and it was a good victory. We will be talking about that with a almost full stadium. So it was something they needed, and that's why they have this calm Rodrigo was mentioning, which is something strange in Barcelona in the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Strange in a good way for them after how much they've been struggling. And part of that enjoyment is, of course, because of Robert Lewandowski. It was such an exciting moment, of course, for the club when they could finally make this official. And this is why 8 goals and 2 assists so far in the season. Rodri just said that for him, and we've talked about this before, that he's on his way to being the Pichichi, the top scorer of La Liga this season. Gemma, would you put all your bets on Robert Lewandowski for him to top this list throughout the season?
Now I would, even though I had to recognize that when I did my predictions for the season, I said that I thought Benzema would be top scorer, but I wasn't expecting that. I could think that he would have a great start, but that great, I mean, 8 goals. He has only played eight games at Barcelona, and he's already a leader. He knows what he has to do, where he has to go. He knows how to talk to the rest of the players. He knows how to adapt to La Liga, to a different team, very different, like Barcelona. It's true that it's a team that it can be similar than what he played with Guardiola, and but it's impressive. It is impressive. He wanted another adventure at the top level, and he's doing it so well. And now at this point. Of course, now it's easy to say because Benzema is injured and he's scoring every game and being so fit. But at this point, one will say that he will be the top scorer of La Liga.
Yeah, why not Rodri as well? And Gemma mentioned Karim Benzema, and I think a lot of people, of course, were and still are on that boat. But Robert Lewandowski at this moment could take advantage. Sounds terrible, but could take advantage of the fact that Benzema is still out for a few more matches.
Yeah, I mean, it will take time for Benzema to come back to the pitch. The thing is that at Real Madrid, he and the club said and agreed last week to be very calm down because they have these 2 weeks now till La Liga is going to be back, so he can recover 100% and be back on the track completely fit. So that's why he wants to wait, and he's not focused on the Pichichi because Karim Benzema, if you know him, you know that he's a guy that prefers to work for the others that he did for Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, last decade while Cristiano Ronaldo was Real Madrid player, and he's not focused on the top scorer list or whatever. He prefers Real Madrid to win the league and to be at that level as they did last year rather than be in the individual prizes. If they come indeed, this is something great, but he's more than happy with the Pichichi last year and even with the Golden Ball, Ballon d'Or, that he's going to win for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you don't 100% focus on yourself, and by that I mean there's no I in team, of course good things come your way. Karim Benzema is a perfect example of that. All right, let's move on to a little bit of more information with you guys, our insiders. Gemma, we were just talking about the fact that Karim Benzema is still out for a few more matches. Barcelona doesn't seem to have that problem when it had been such a constant thing and it's such a big list of those injured players. Why aren't we seeing that this season?
Yeah, and that is big and great news for Barcelona because in the previous seasons they were struggling with that problem. We're going to try to explain why is that, even though of course there are other elements like lack and other things that get into that. But let's remember last season in the first 5 months Barcelona suffered 28 injuries. 28. It was a crazy start. So many things happened last season. It was a crappy season in all aspects, and injuries were one. So what Xavi wanted to do when he became a coach, he wanted to be a manager coach that he controls everything. So he's working so much in that aspect. He learned a lot when he was a player and also when he was in Qatar in one of the best academies that is Aspire. So he brought back the doctor, Ricard Bruna. He's a capital piece for him. He also has more physical technicians working with the team. They were 4, now it's 7. And also they are working a lot on the diet of the football players. They put sometimes we say football players they don't work that much. Well, Barcelona players now they have an almost 8-hour schedule when they don't play. This means that they have breakfast there. They warm up with the physical preparation. They have lunch, and even they can even take dinner takeaway to control their diet, which is it has so much to see with injuries as well. So and Xavi he wants to have the control of everything. What my sources tell me is that he's in control of absolutely everything, and when there is a little alarm about a player with all the technical mechanism they have to measure that, he comes out of the pitch. We've seen this with Pedri, we've seen this with Dembele, so he's taking a lot of precaution on that. Now, I've been told that they are a little bit worried, that concerned that with the international break, the players going away these 2 weeks, they are a little concerned that this really great work they have been building, it can have some kind of setback because of that.
Oops. Yeah, and that's a situation where you're kind of out of control, but communication is key. Maybe there'll be that key communication with their staff as well when they go on that international break. We'll see. That'll be in a utopian or idyllic world with proper communication between clubs and national teams, right? All right. Rodri, now onto something that's not fun for anybody to talk about, but we have to do it here with something that happened a little bit beyond what that Madrid derby was. Tell us a little bit about why La Liga is stepping in.
Yeah, in fact, this is really sad, and this is something that blows my mind sometimes when you think about the year we are in, 2022, and there are still some minorities. It doesn't really matter the country. Now it happens in Spain that still thinks about being racism. The thing is that this morning I got a message from my sources in La Liga saying that La Liga itself is looking at filing a complaint regarding the racist chanting against Vinícius. To contextualize everything, last night at the outskirts of the Metropolitano, some people from Atletico Madrid fan base were chanting some bad words related to Vinícius and the color of his skin. And that's why La Liga is trying to denounce this, trying to fight these people and try to get these minorities out of the Spanish stadium. So that's why this is really sad. Atletico Madrid is working hard to try to localize these guys and try to know the names, the faces, thanks to the security guard job. And that's why they're trying to fight this in this battle against racism that Javier Tebas is leading in Spain.
Yeah, and hopefully this is something that we don't have to talk about anytime soon. You said it perfectly, Rodri. It's amazing that we still have to talk about these things when we're in 2022, after especially what we saw going on in the pandemic. All right, switching gears a little bit back to something positive with Robert Lewandowski as well. We were talking about the fact that he's topping that list of goal scorers. He's not only doing great leadership work on the field, Gemma, how about off it?
Yes, he's a true leader. He arrived, and of course the numbers are there. He has scored 11 of 20 of the 23 goals in all competitions that Barcelona managed to score, which is crazy numbers, almost the half of it. He's the player who sells more T-shirts. There are so many chants singing for Lewandowski at the Camp Nou. He's scoring every 58 minutes, so it's impressive, his numbers. But he's a leader on the pitch and off the pitch, and this is something I think this Barcelona were missing so much, because I think we have to run into Carles Puyol or Xavi Hernandez player to find a player that was so much leader in and off the pitch, because of course they had Leo Messi, who was a great leader, and he was the idol and the hero of all the fan base, but probably in the pitch, because of his character, he was not that player that when things go wrong, he can say, okay, follow me, let's do that. And he didn't have that kind of character or expansivity. It was the same with Andres Iniesta, and probably for different circumstances, the same of with Gerard Piqué. He's also captain, but he doesn't have this kind of credibility maybe with the squad. So now with Lewandowski, it's too soon to say because he has only played a few matches, but it looks like he can do that. And what my sources, close sources to the player himself tell me is that he feels very comfortable in that role, because he could never be that kind of leader in Bayern Munich, because there were another players with a similar role like Manuel Neuer or Müller, so he couldn't be that kind of leader, and now he feels comfortable with that, and also he has the help of another leader in the bench as Xavi Hernandez, that he knows how important is that, and they are working together very well, and always Xavi is praising that humble player that Robert Lewandowski is, which is very impressive for being one of the top 3 players in the world.
Yeah, that's amazing that he just got to this team and he's already assuming that role. It's so important for a team that so many years has struggled with their confidence and is now looking towards a player that is such a great example on, and what you tell us, of course, off the field. And of course, to be that right-hand man for Xavi, that's amazing. All right, going back to Vinícius Jr., of course, a lot of chatter around him as well with what he's done on the field and with his celebrations, of course. But let's talk about a personal victory that he's had, Rodri.
Yeah, for the Brazilian guy, Madrid Derby was pointed out as a symbolic game for him to say, hey, I'm here, and since Benzema is not going to be playing for this game, I want to lead Real Madrid to win at the Metropolitano. Apart from the media hype that we all saw last week regarding to the dances or their celebrations, he was focused on that game so hard that my sources close to the player said to me that he was even trying to get more sleep hours, trying to focus on the nutrition every day and trying to rest a little bit more, apart from the media hype or whatever smoke screen that we saw in Spain last week regarding to his dances. And that's why Vinícius was, even more impressive for Carlo Ancelotti. Maybe he didn't make his best performance of the year because he didn't score and he wasn't at his 100%, but he made an average play for an average game for him. He was one of the key players for Real Madrid, mostly in the second goal that Valverde finally scored, but the play he was by himself, and that's why he danced in the first goal with Rodrigo, because he wanted to reivindicate himself to the world, not only for La Liga people, but to the world, to say, I'm here, I'm prepared for more things, and I want to be important and the new leader for the next decade of Real Madrid. And this is something that the club, I think, embraces himself, because they consider Vinícius their best star in the future. So that's why, everyone now is happy for Vinícius. He is happy and he wants to be even more important in the next games.
Absolutely. What a rising star too, and getting the attention of Pelé. I'm sure you guys saw that tweet that he put for him, and I tell you guys now, and it's such an amazing thing to have such a legendary player notice you and tweet at you and support you in that way. So it's great motivation, good for Vini Jr. at that young age to react that way, to just see how he can be a better player and step up when Real Madrid maybe doesn't have that leader in Karim Benzema. All right, speaking of fun and things and a little bit of support, a lot of support actually, the Camp Nou is back, Gemma.
Yes, and I think it's quite impressive because we are talking about this team that had a really bad defeat midweek against Bayern, and on Saturday they have a game against bottom team. It's at 4 p.m. local time, which is siesta time. We take, Cristina, we take that very seriously here in Spain. And it was about to rain. Seriously, in Barcelona, there were like dark black clouds saying, I'm going to rain at any time. Even with that, there were 85,000 spectators to see that game. And in the first month of this season, we had an average of 83,000, which is quite impressive because they haven't played without against a really important team. So it's like the excitement is back at the Camp Nou. Lewandowski, the new names, the youngsters that are really already idols for the fan base made a lot as well in that. Tourism as well, because you could see so many Polish flags in the Camp Nou and so many tourists there as well. But I think they managed to do something that was very difficult. We're talking a comparison comparing with last season. The average was of 56,000 spectators, so it's a big difference. And they managed to get that post-Messi era effect. They worked on that. That's good for the economy because it means a lot of money for a club that really needs that. good for the players because it's like playing 12 against 11 when you play with so many support, and it's good for having the excitement back in the team, and also thinking about the future because, as you know, the Camp Nou needs to be completely refurbished, and next season they will be having to play in Montjuic, which means about 60,000 spectators, no more than that. So all the spectators that they can feel the Camp Nou, it's money they won't be able to make next season.
How much is the full capacity, Gemma, at the Camp Nou?
It's during La Liga games, it's 98,500 approximately. Champions League is a little bit less because of security. It's a humongous stadium.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's why I'm sure you're very happy to see it back to its old ways. But speaking of the old ways, we know that vintage is something that's very trendy and very popular, but sometimes you do have to renovate it. As much as we love the Camp Nou, it does need maybe its a little touch up to be at its best, to be able to host those 98,500 fans at the Camp Nou. All right, let's head back to Madrid. Let's head back to the Wanda Metropolitano, back to the Madrid derby, because Antoine Griezmann had a pretty good match, Rodri.
Yeah, we crossed the road to talk about Atletico Madrid because, during the last week, we all thought that Simeone was going to play in this 3-4-3 with Cunha, with Correa, and with Joao Felix up in the front. But finally, when we got the lineups last night, we were all amazed by the fact that Griezmann was at the starting 11 again. And I think this is a great news for him and for Atletico Madrid. Let's see if in the following games he remains as a starter, because we all know the deal in between Atletico Madrid, the lack of cash to face those 40 million euros that Barca demands for this 2-year loan. And the thing is that he's focused and he's suffering a little bit as a player because he wants to be up there, he wants to be starter, and he wants to have the same chances that Morata, Mateus Cunha, Joao Felix, or even Correa have. But he is not able this year to make it that way. So that's why he was very impressive. He was happy. He was focused. He realized and he got the news that he was going to be the starter as Atletico Madrid against Real Madrid Saturday morning. That's when Simeone told him that he was going to be at the starting 11, and he was like, my God, this is my chance and I'm going to try to get advantage of this. He proved during the game that he was one of the Simeone's priority, because he was, for me, the best in attack, and he tried to combine with Joao Felix. That, for me, Joao Felix wasn't at that level that the French guy he was at. So that's why good news for Griezmann, good news for Atletico Madrid, and let's see if next game for Atletico Madrid he is going to be a starter again, or if finally he comes into the pitch from the minute number 60 around that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he can't play those 90 minutes, why not just take advantage of what he can play at the moment? So good for him to take advantage of those opportunities and really just go all forward. All right, we're not done yet. We have to go to extra time as well. This is interesting. Fede Valverde's significant other decided to post a picture of his jersey after the match. You coming from war, brother? Blood, sweat, and tears, quite literally, from Fede Valverde in that match. Gemma, what do you think?
Well, if I were Fede Valverde, I would think, thank God, no rival asked me to swap t-shirts, because I would be a little bit ashamed to give my t-shirt like this walking. Of course, he had an amazing game. That crazy goal he managed to score. He's having momentum. He's in a terrific form, and and that's the example. He goes back home like this, and I understand that his girlfriend is like, what should I do with that?
Yeah. I mean, if you do want to swap, you'll be like, hey, can I wash this for you first? Give me your address and I'll send it to you at least, right, Rodri?
Well, maybe some Atletico Madrid player wanted him to be playing for Atletico Madrid, painting those red stripes
I love it.
In blood. Maybe, I didn't know, but it proves that he's one of the best Real Madrid players, because they wanted to stop him. It doesn't really matter the way.
Red and white on the t-shirt, trying to start a little bit of controversy. Here's a spoon. Rodri, do you wanna mix it up maybe a little bit? I mean, why not, Gemma? If Fede is playing so well, like you said, Yeah, of course. Everybody wants a piece of him.
Yeah, sometimes it would be interesting to play one half in one team and with the other half with another. But I think in a derby de Madrid, that would be absolutely possible.
Yeah, I don't know. FIFA, you want to weigh in on this? Maybe to see if that's a possibility? No, probably only a friendly, right? Only Chicharito that did it that one time. But anyway, let's close things up. Always a good time with you guys. Gemma and Rodri. Of course, you can follow these guys on Twitter. Here's their handle at the moment. There it is. @Gemma Soler, @Gemma_Soler _ I keep saying these in Spanish. I'm so used to it. @Rodrigo Pais and @Chris Alex ESPN. But more than anything, for this insider information, these guys are at La Liga matches every single weekend. Those games, of course, you can be there too through ESPN Plus. It's always a good time. Remember, you can watch it in English or in Spanish. It's totally up to you. And we really appreciate you guys. Gemma, Rodri, and Cristina. We'll see you next time.
Adiós, amigos. Ciao.